In the heart of America, beyond the reach of cell towers and highways, there is a place where the old world still rules, a place that swallows sound and memory, where the wilderness is law, and men are only visitors. Most people come to Yellowstone searching for wonder, geysers, wild bison, rivers as old as time. But buried within its vast, untouched corners lies something few ever hear about. A silent, invisible boundary, drawn not by nature, but by the flaws of human law. Imagine this. In the land of 1,000 laws, there is a patch of earth where, if a crime were committed, no jury could ever be summoned, no judge could ever preside. Here on the map, the law simply stops. They call it the death zone. And in this place, if you were to break the law, it's possible that no one could ever bring you to justice. Tonight, we walk the empty road into America's hidden legal black hole. Welcome to the place where law ends and the unknown begins. Yellowstone, land of untold mysteries. Yellowstone, a name that conjures visions of fire and water, of ancient pines and endless sky. Stretching across nearly 3,500 square miles, touching 3 states, sheltering a world apart from the ordinary. It is America's first national park, a sanctuary of wildness, older than the country itself, where bison thunder through valleys and the ground itself trembles with hidden heat. This is a land where stories begin and vanish in the mists, where explorers, outlaws, and dreamers once vanished without a trace. But there's another story, buried deeper than any hot spring, darker than the midnight woods. Few realize that hidden within Yellowstone's vast beauty is a flaw, an accidental gap in the law, unlike anywhere else in the United States. In the shadows of all this wonder, the greatest legal loophole in America quietly waits. The Zone of Death, America's legal twilight. Buried in the western edge of Yellowstone, just inside Idaho's borders, lies a forgotten slice of wilderness, empty and silent. But on paper, this unremarkable land is the site of America's strangest legal loophole. Here's how it happened. Yellowstone National Park, though mostly in Wyoming, actually spills into Montana and Idaho. When Congress created the park in 1872, they drew its legal boundaries not along state lines, but as one vast federal district, overseen by the U.S. District Court for Wyoming. This unusual detail would go unnoticed for more than a century. Then, in 2005, law professor Brian Kalt published a paper with a chilling discovery. According to the Constitution, anyone charged with a serious crime has the right to a jury made up of people from the state and the federal district where the crime occurred. But the Idaho portion of Yellowstone has no permanent residents, no people, no potential jurors, which means, by the letter of the law, if a crime were committed there, it might be impossible to assemble a jury, and without a jury, the law cannot proceed. The Washington Post called it America's perfect crime scene. Professor Kalt warned, it's a place where the law, through a bizarre accident of geography, could simply fail. And so the so-called Zone of Death remains, an eerie blank spot on the map where justice itself could disappear. Chilling theories and unsettling truths. So what happens when the law vanishes? Legal scholars warn that, in theory, the zone of death could be a place where the perfect crime goes unpunished. Imagine a murderer or a kidnapper, knowing the loophole, committing their act inside these forgotten acres, then walking free, shielded not by the wild, but by a technicality of human law. No jury, no trial, no justice. Thankfully, no one has ever tested the loophole. Yet. Still, the idea has spawned 1,000 ghost stories and urban legends, tales of hikers vanishing without a trace, of campers who never returned, of a darkness that haunts these silent woods. Yellowstone, after all, is a place with a long history of disappearances. Over the decades, dozens of people have gone missing within the park, some found, some never seen again. The vastness of the wild swallows evidence, leaving behind only questions. The truth is, most of these mysteries are the work of nature, not law. But the zone of death adds a chilling twist. What if one day someone decided to exploit it? In a place where the law cannot reach, what else might be waiting in the shadows? Government response. Why hasn't the law changed? For nearly 20 years, the zone of death has been public knowledge, a legal anomaly hiding in plain sight. After Professor Brian Kalt published his research in 2005, legal experts, journalists, and even members of Congress took notice. Calls for reform echoed across courtrooms and newspaper columns. Yet to this day, the loophole remains untouched. Why? Some lawmakers have introduced bills to fix the problem, proposing to simply move the Idaho portion of Yellowstone into the nearest federal judicial district, or to allow juries to be drawn from neighboring counties. But so far, none of these efforts have made it through Congress. Officials at the National Park Service acknowledge the issue, but point out that no crime has ever been prosecuted or gone unpunished in the zone. As one park representative told The Guardian, "It's an interesting legal question, but for us, it's still just a wilderness. We focus on keeping visitors safe, not chasing ghosts in the law." Professor Kalt himself remains uneasy. In an interview, he said, "It would take just one case, one tragedy, for this oversight to become a national scandal. But until then, it's easy for lawmakers to ignore." And so, the zone of death lingers, a strange artifact of American law, waiting for the day someone tries to put it to the test. Tragedy and warning. A dangerous place in the heart of America. It's easy to imagine the zone of death as something out of a thriller novel, an unreal place where the rules simply don't apply. But the danger is not a story. It is real. If only because law depends on people willing to enforce it. For visitors, the lesson is simple. Respect the wild. Stay on marked trails. And remember, in these remote corners, help can be days away, even if the law is not. Around the world, there have always been places where the law grows thin. The unclaimed borderlands between countries, war zones abandoned by governments, the so-called no man's lands, where chaos quietly takes root. But the zone of death is unique, a legal vacuum at the heart of a modern democracy, hidden not by distance, but by indifference. In the end, the real danger is not just in the land itself, but in our willingness to look away from flaws in the systems we trust. Yellowstone is a reminder. Even in the safest places, true safety can never be taken for granted. Epilogue. Truth or collective fear? So is the zone of death just a legal curiosity? A shadow lurking in the fine print? Or a real danger waiting to be unleashed? What would happen if one day a crime was truly committed here? Would the law fail? Or would justice somehow find a way? Perhaps the most unsettling truth is how easy it is for society to overlook the cracks in our systems until something slips through. What do you think? Could you ever trust a place where the law might not protect you? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And as long as there are places where answers are missing, stories in Yellowstone will never truly end. Next time, we'll explore the park's other unsolved mysteries, the disappearances, the legends, and the secrets the wilderness keeps for itself. Until then, stay curious, stay careful, and remember, sometimes the scariest places are the ones hidden in plain sight.